I guess just following up on the news earlier today, Browns wide receiver Amari Cooper aggravated a groin injury in practice. He's questionable for week 2 Monday night. That makes it a little dicey. Being on a Monday night, your options are limited, but he's also a guy that you typically want to hold out and wait for. And so that makes it a little tricky as to what to do. So we can talk about Amari Cooper if you are between him and other options in general. We'll make sure we got you covered. Again, go ahead and skip ahead a minute or so, maybe about 30 seconds or so, and we'll be solid. And let me just let my Discord friends know. And we'll be off and running. Come on. There we go. All right. I got my Discord up. Probably should have had it up sooner than this, but I didn't. All right. Off and running. Okay. Welcome to week 2, you guys. Plenty of storylines going on throughout the NFL. Players returning, players who are iffy for this week. We'll get into all of that. Taking your questions, your start sit questions, whatever you guys need, we'll make sure we get it covered. If you weren't here last week, or if you're new just in general, just reiterating the way it works, I will get to the members first. As my paying customers, I want to make sure that I get them as they answer, or as they ask questions, but then I will get to the general public as the questions start to trickle in and when I'm able to wrap up with the members. So that's the way it works. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Just ask for some patience and we can get your start sit questions answered for week 2. Plenty of storylines to get through. Just mentioned Amari Cooper aggravated a groin injury. He's questionable for week 2. That makes it difficult because it's a Monday Night Football game. So if you have other pivots that you feel perfectly fine moving to in the early slate, I'd probably recommend doing it. You hate to see late adds to the injury report no matter when it happens, especially when it's a Monday night and your options are potentially limited to replace a player of Amari Cooper's caliber. You may just want to go ahead and pivot to another safe alternative that isn't a Hail Mary that's currently sitting on your bench. So just something to think about. What's going on, Greg? Happy Saturday. Hope everybody's enjoying college football if you're choosing to watch that, or however you are spending your weekend, your downtime, whatever that may be. Hopefully this stream finds you well and enjoying your time, however you choose to spend it. I'm checking out Georgia right now. They did take the lead, but South Carolina had a lead going into half, and well, that's not going to get it done. They're about to punt the football back to Georgia. So just keeping tabs on some things around the college football landscape. Probably not going to be able to catch the Colorado game tonight, unfortunately, but we'll absolutely be checking my phone for the results. We will see. In addition to Amari Cooper, that's the not so good news. The good news is guys like Travis Kelce expected to make his 2023 debut week 2. Mark Andrews likewise expected to make his 2023 debut. So you can fire up the tight end 1 and 2 respectively. That as far as draft position this year, they can be returned to starting lineups. Trying to think who else. Aaron Jones, not likely to play. Austin Eckler has already been ruled out. I would be cautious with Joshua Kelly. The Titans are a pretty good run defense. They stifled Jamal Williams last week in what looked like a spot where you had to start Jamal Williams. So it's rough sledding for a guy like Joshua Kelly. But if you're hurting already this early in the season, he's a fine flex if it is at that point for you. There are other injuries as well. Let me double check what I had here. DeAndre Hopkins on the injury report. He's questionable to play against the Chargers. This is should be a decent matchup at home for him if he's able to suit up, but he's questionable. Other than Eckler, Evan Hall was put on IR. Greg Dulcich was put on IR. So Adam Troutman is a boom bust tight end 2 stream in deep leagues. I think that about covers it. All right, let's get into these questions with you guys starting to populate the chat. I'm gonna start with Greg. As one of my loyal members. You had Dobbins. That sucks. Rough for J.K. Dobbins. I mean, I talked about this earlier in the week, but you feel for the guy. You're fine though with McCaffrey, ETN. Those guys are fine. I would probably be looking for alternatives to Amari Cooper at this point. Garrett Wilson also takes a massive hit this year for the rest of this season with no Aaron Rodgers. He was being drafted as a bona fide clear-cut wide receiver 1. Now you're hoping he's able to just return wide receiver 2 results for the rest of the season. We'll see if he's able to accomplish that. We're not doubting Garrett Wilson's talent. What we are doubting is Zach Wilson's ability to get him the football frequently enough and often enough that will result in wide receiver 1 production. I have my doubts, not because of Garrett Wilson, but because of Zach Wilson. So you have to fire him up. Nico Collins, you have to fire up. Amari Cooper, I would be probably looking to pivot off of, unless your options are like waiver wire options anyway. I would be looking to move off of Amari Cooper. If you have Debo, yes, 100%, you're playing Debo over Amari Cooper. If you have Debo, Garrett Wilson, and Nico Collins, I would play all 3 of those guys over Amari Cooper without question. If you only need 2, I guess guess Wilson and Debo. But if you have to start 3, then I would put Nico in over Amari Cooper. It's tough. It's tough with these late adds to the injury report. You worry about a guy like Amari Cooper now. Groin injury, aggravated, questionable for Monday night. There are 2 Monday night games this week, so you have a few more options. But, I mean, we're talking about Donovan Peoples-Jones or Adam Thielen or DJ Chark, who's probably going to be on a pitch count anyway. Maybe Jonathan Mingo is out there. And then it's like the Steelers depth guy, or like Rashid Shaheed for the Saints, maybe. He probably got picked up, though. And then maybe like Oh God, like Calvin Austin, Allen Robinson, guys who are going to get more run with Deontay Johnson out of that game. I mean, Donovan Peoples-Jones is fine as an emergency pivot, but if you've got guys that are tiers ahead of what's on the waiver wire, I would just fire them up over Amari Cooper. I prefer to play it safe. I don't like messing around with guys who late adds to the injury report on Monday night. No, thank you. Cooper could still do his thing. He is that guy. He is one of those dudes that you believe in and fire up when healthy every single week. He's not a guy that is involved in start-sit questions. Amari Cooper is just in your starting lineup. But when this is the situation, I'm pivoting. I don't like these situations on Monday night, end of the week. Yeah, there's another game in there, but given what the likely options are on the waiver wire, I'm probably looking to swerve off of Amari. So hopefully that helps, Greg. Yeah, Walker's a fine. I would be looking to move off of I'd be looking to move off of Amari Cooper, though. Debo, yes. Nico, yes. If you need a third wide receiver, let me know your options and we can discuss it. All right, just moving back up to the top of the chat. I see there's a trade question. You got T. Higgins and Pacheco for Judy and Montgomery. Yeah, I would. I mean, it's fair. T. Higgins is probably the best player in that deal. So, yeah, I prefer the Higgins side. Nicely done. Nicely done. What's going on, Astro? Would I keep, and then just keep moving down the board, would I keep Rashid Shaheed or take a stab on Jerome Ford or Sean? I'm keeping Rashid Shaheed. Rashid Shaheed was one of my favorite targets in best ball this year. I think his ADP was too low. It was around like 160 for most of the offseason. Given the stretch that he had to end the season last year, I felt way too good about him for his ADP to be that low. I drafted Rashid Shaheed a lot in best ball. I tried to get him this week, but I just missed out on waivers in my redraft leagues. I'm stashing Rashid Shaheed. I just don't know how long Michael Thomas is going to hold up. I'm not, rooting against Michael Thomas being a vet. Georgia's about to score 24-14. They're about to put this game away. Nice little run at the beginning of this game by South Carolina, but Georgia, top team in the country, a little too much. By the way, somebody in your league will be drafting Brock Bowers next year. If you play Dynasty, he's a first-round pick. If you play redraft, Brock Bowers is going to be a late round target this year for people who punt on, or next year, 2024. Brock Bowers going to be a late pick in redraft leagues in 2024. Maybe not even that late. He might go in where Dalton Kincaid was getting drafted. He'll be drafted in redraft leagues. I digress. I would rather keep Rashid Shaheed as a stash over Jerome Ford or Sean Tucker. I would keep Rashid Shaheed. What's going on, Nemo? Good to see you, man. What's going on? Right back at you. And thanks for joining. You already know. Let me know what you got for me this week. And yeah, you guys are always I always encourage, if you guys want to help each other, feel free to answer other people's questions in the chat. That is obviously a-okay. This is just a conversation. We're all just hanging out. We're having a good time. Football's now for college. Football's tomorrow for the NFL. We're just having a good time enjoying our weekends. So if you feel inclined to answer somebody's question, by all means, go for it. We're here to help each other, right? That's what it's all about. Garrett Wilson or Mike Williams? See, this is Garrett Wilson is officially gonna be involved in start-sit questions probably for the rest of the season, and unfortunately, it's fair. With the downgrade to Zach Wilson is significant. Oh God, I would probably go Mike Williams. It's just Garrett Wilson is so awesome. Garrett Wilson is awesome, but now he is screwed for the rest of the season. Can he get 1,200 yards? I think he had 1,100 as a rookie. I think he had around 70 catches. Like, yeah, he can do that, but he only had 4 touchdowns on an anemic offense. The Jets are probably going to be an anemic offense in 2023. That's even if Breece Hall is able to come back and give you even more than what you were possibly expecting from Breece Hall this year, just 1 year removed from the ACL. That offensive line is okay, not great. And now there's a significant downgrade in quarterback play. Yeah, I'm going Mike Williams over Garrett Wilson. I'm going any viable wide receiver 2, any wide receivers that you drafted in the 4th or 5th round. Yeah, I am starting those guys over Garrett Wilson. That's how significant the fall is. It's not his fault, but that's the situation that we're dealing with now. So yeah, I would go Mike Williams over Garrett Wilson. And then I would go James Cook over Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce is dealing with probably backups along almost the entire offensive line this week. James Cook got RB1 usage. I think he's going to get more RB1 usage this week at home against a much more inferior opponent in the Raiders. I like James Cook this week. I like James Cook plenty this week. So yeah, I would fire him up over Pierce. And Greg, I got to your stuff. Let me know if you have any other alternatives to Amari Cooper. Because I am officially not feeling starting Amari Cooper right now. Let's see. You lost J.K. Dobbins. I wouldn't be targeting Miles Sanders as a trade piece. He had a nice game. He got nice usage week 1. Miles Sanders did. He had a decent game. He also fumbled the ball. So that's not spectacular, but he had good usage. He had RB1 usage for Carolina week 1. Should continue to see more of that. I just worry about Miles Sanders because the Panthers are they're not going to be that good this year. They're taking their lumps on offense. There's going to be dry spells. Miles Sanders looks like he is that team's RB1 when healthy based on the workload that he got. I just don't know that he's a guy that I want to try to trade for out of necessity for running back. If you believe in Miles Sanders, if you just disagree with me and you believe in Miles Sanders, then by all means, like, see what you can what it would take to pry him away to get him. I wasn't crazy about Miles Sanders coming into the offseason. I don't have many shares of him this year in all of the, in all formats, best ball. I didn't draft him. I don't have him on any redraft teams or dynasty teams. Not crazy about Miles Sanders. If he does well, then I'll eat my words. He's just a guy that I didn't target this year, that I'm not targeting in general. He's not a guy I would be looking to trade capital for as a result of losing Dobbins. Stuck between Christian Watson and Dotson. And yeah, thanks, Nick. Appreciate it. I would probably go Dotson because Watson is still on the injury report. If he plays tomorrow, excellent, awesome. Probably going to be on a pitch count. And a guy who's just, when I have 2 dudes who are, close, given the circumstances. I mean, normally in a vacuum, a healthy Watson you prefer over a healthy Jahan Dotson, but Christian Watson is not 100%. Jahan Dotson is. I would play Dotson. I would play Dotson until we see Christian Watson on the field. Dotson didn't have a great game last week, but Washington is going to play more competitive games from here on out after they got Arizona off of the roadmap. Now they got to go on the road. This is a tougher spot for them. Patrick Surtain is probably going to follow Terry McLaurin around, which means Jahan Dotson should see one-on-one coverage most of tomorrow. I'll take Dotson over a not 100% Christian Watson. Yeah, I'll take Dotson over Watson. Okay, you also have Jamal Williams. I would still, the Saints play the Panthers. I mean, that's a good spot. So it's basically Jamal Williams or James Cook, right? I'd probably just still go James Cook. It's close, but I would probably just go James Cook. I'll take the best. I'll take the running back who got the RB1 usage last week on the better offense. Buffalo is objectively. I know Josh Allen had a bad game Monday night against the Jets, but as of right now, going into week 2, objectively on paper, the Bills are a better offense than the Saints. So I'll take the running back attached to the better offense. I'll take Cook over Jamal Williams. And yeah, Nemo kind of covered it already between who I like more between Goddard and Hunter Henry. You have to like Goddard more. He's a big time playmaker. He's a big time weapon. This Eagles offense should get better over the course of the season. They don't look great now, but they should be fine as the season progresses. I have to imagine. Between Watson, Dotson, or Puka. So I'm going to still go Dotson here. Puka Nacua looks like one of the trendiest pickups in recent memory, at least as far as week 1s go. He's very interesting rest of season, especially depending on the health of Cooper Kupp, but he picked up the oblique injury. Yes, he's expected to play, but this is a much tougher opponent. This is a different beast in the San Francisco 49ers. I was originally feeling Puka as a start this week, but after he picked up the injury, I'll take a guy like Dotson over Puka Nacua. I'll take Dotson over Puka. Yep. Let me see. Greg, your Debo, Nico, Cooks, Wilson. Okay, got it. Debo and Nico to start. Yup, that's fine. I do think I can't believe this is where we're at, but I probably would play. See, there's a talent level tier break between Garrett Wilson and Nico Collins, which makes me believe that I probably need to fire up Garrett Wilson, but Garrett Wilson is also in a very difficult matchup this week against Trayvon Diggs and Stephon Gilmore for the Cowboys. Yeah, I might just, I can't believe we're here. I can't believe we're here with Garrett Wilson, but I would probably consider Nico. I would probably consider Nico Collins. I don't know if I can pull that trigger, but it probably makes sense. That's a tough trigger to pull, Greg. Nico Collins over Garrett Wilson, but given the matchup, Wilson's got a tough one against 2 really good corners for Dallas. Yeah, you might want to actually consider that. I can't believe we're here. But this is what happens when Aaron Rodgers goes down. That's what happens when that's what happens when you know, a Hall of Famer goes down and he's replaced by a guy that nobody has any confidence in Zach Wilson. Thanks, Sheldon. Appreciate the super. Very kind of you. You know, I certainly appreciate the supers, and I will make sure that I get to those if anybody's feeling so inclined. I do this for, you know, for you guys for sure, but if you do feel so inclined, I appreciate the offer. I appreciate the super, and I'm happy to take the question. Do you play DJ Moore or Rashid Shaheed in full PPR? I mean, I love Rashid Shaheed. It feels like you have to play DJ Moore, right? It feels like you should. You drafted him high. You stacked him up with Justin Fields. Obviously, last week was a disappointment. What I think we need to remember is there were multiple opportunities where DJ Moore was open and Fields just missed him. Like when I say just missed him, like didn't see him. So that's a concern. But man, you spent so much capital on DJ Moore. I feel like you have to go back to him for one more week. The concerns for about Justin Fields as a passer at the NFL level are real. The concerns are legitimate and they are real. And it's not a great matchup by the numbers. Tampa Bay still has good players on defense. This is a tough spot for Chicago. I'm very hype about Rashid Shaheed and Nemo. I know Nemo suggested Rashid Shaheed, and look, over DJ Moore. Like that's the name of the game sometimes. Like you just don't feel good about guys right away that you drafted high necessarily. But I mean, I think I have to go back to the well for one more week. I think I have to go with Shaheed, or excuse me, with DJ Moore over Shaheed for one more week. Hope that they can course correct off the field in the, when you're studying film in the film room. They're, of course, going to call out the plays that where DJ Moore was open and Justin Fields missed him, didn't see him. I have to go back to the well with DJ Moore for one more week. Rashid Shaheed looks like one of my favorite stashes, like deep bench wide receiver guys, like a wide receiver 4 or 5 for sure. You drafted DJ Moore to be your wide receiver 2. Maybe your wide receiver 1 if you went robust running back to start the draft. I just don't think you can pivot off of DJ Moore yet for Rashid Shaheed. I don't think so. Yeah. The Bucs pose a difficult challenge for the Bears offense. There is no doubt. There is no question. I got to imagine, though, that the Bears try to course correct this week and just try to do what they can to get DJ Moore the ball. And he was a part of the trade that the Bears made to give up the number 1 overall pick. This is a guy that needs to be a focal point of your offense. I have to imagine they get him a little bit more involved this week. I'm going to fire up DJ Moore over Rashid Shaheed. It's a talent level tier break for me, and I think that's what does it. And so for me, I'll take Moore. I'll take Moore over Rashid Shaheed. We can revisit a conversation like this in week 3 if DJ Moore has another bad performance. But he's too good for me to bank on that. So I'll go Moore. Thank you again for the Super, Sheldon. Much appreciated. Let me know if there's anything else I can help out with. All right. Just looking for my spot back in the chat order. Mixon, Pierce, or Kelly sit 1. It's between it. I think you have to start Mixon. For me, it's between Pierce and Kelly. For me, it's between Pierce and Kelly. Kelly is a backup running back getting an opportunity because the starter is out in a brutal matchup. Tennessee is really good at stopping the run. So Kelly could flounder. He could flounder given the circumstances, but he's got a great opportunity ahead of him for some volume. And so that's the appeal. With Pierce, he's the starter. He's the dude. He's the guy that you drafted high to lean on. But he's in a horrible, precarious situation because half of the Texans' offensive line is out this week. A lot of injuries along the offensive line for Houston in a division game against Indianapolis. So Pierce is in a bad spot because of injuries. Kelly is in a bad spot because of the matchup. I think I give the slight edge to Pierce over Joshua Kelly just because Pierce is the regular starter, but I don't feel super optimistic about either one. I would be lowering expectations for both this week. So I would probably tentatively go Mixon and Pierce. It's a tough call, but I would probably lean the regular starter over the spot starter who better offense, but worse matchup. Worse matchup. Greg, just to wrap this up, just to bring this home, should you flex Kenneth Walker over Garrett Wilson? Yeah, I would. I absolutely 100% would. Kenneth Walker's doesn't have a great situation himself, having to go on the road and play Detroit, but Kenneth Walker didn't lose a Hall of Fame quarterback who he was reliant on for production. So if Garrett Wilson has to be faded in this matchup big time, if you have no other obvious pivots, then you have to fire him up. But if you have a guy like Kenneth Walker, I'm absolutely playing him over somebody like Garrett Wilson. Let me see. Where am I at? What's going on, Eli? Good to see you. Nakua, Gabe Davis, Kendrick Bourne, Josh Kelly, or Miles Sanders. Remind me the scoring. Is it full PPR? Is it half PPR? That'll help. That'll certainly help. I do like Gabe Davis a bit in a bounce back this week for the Bills offense at home against the Raiders. I will say that. What moves am I making? Yeah, Lawrence starter, yes. McCaffrey, Bijan, yes. Ayuk for sure. Andrews for sure. Mike Williams for sure. Man, I might. This is dicey. You have Amari Cooper in your starting lineup. I'm pivoting. I'm trying to pivot off Amari Cooper this week. I see you have Drake London on your bench. I don't know that I can go that far. That's how concerning Drake London is in this offense, in this Falcons offense. His floor is literally 0. I would pick up, let's see, Brian Robinson, Kyron Williams, Kendrick Bourne, Drake London, JSN, and Hayden Hurst on your. So here's what I'm doing in your situation, Evan. I am holding out until Monday Night Football because London can't be started right now if these are your options. Hold out for Monday Night Football. If Amari Cooper can't play, drop Hayden Hurst for Donovan Peoples-Jones or whoever other alternatives that might be available to you for Monday Night Football, like whoever you deem the best available. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. Okay, and Eli, I see you say full PPR. I think I kind of like Gabe. I kind of like Gabe Davis in a bounce back spot. I know he's like a volatile. He's volatile receiver, boom bust, highly scrutinized at this point. Let's be honest. he's somebody that is difficult to trust. Let's be honest. But in a bounce back for the Bills offense, I think this is a spot for him that I want to roll the dice on, that I want to take a shot on with Gabe Davis. Tentatively, I would say Puka Nacua is really interesting here, but with the oblique injury being added to the injury report, I'm not as enthused about him. I'm not as excited about him as I was maybe in the beginning of the week. So I'll take a more proven option in Gabe Davis. Favorite deep running back stashes. But so options here are Chuba Hubbard, Sean Tucker, Jerome Ford. Chuba's interesting, I guess. I mean, look, I don't know that Chuba is very good, but Miles Sanders has had a bit of an injury history, to himself. And Chuba got some work week 1. So among those options, I guess he's interesting. I'm also not opposed to Jerome Ford. He was very trendy prior to picking up an injury over the in the offseason or late in the preseason, actually. He was a guy that had a lot of people's attention, given the opportunity that he had with the Browns not retaining Kareem Hunt and not really bringing anybody else in, which I guess, that changed because they traded. Who did they trade for? Pierre Strong. I think that's who they traded for from New England. That was a move that was only made out of necessity after Ford picked up. They needed an extra body after Ford picked up the injury, but long term, I mean, there's work available behind Nick Chubb. Yeah. Ford. I mean, hell, you could even, I'll throw as a stash, as a guy that, if you guys want to look at a potential running back stash, I mean, Jordan Mason for the San Francisco 49ers. Didn't Elijah Mitchell already pick up an injury? I thought I saw somewhere that Elijah Mitchell had already picked up an injury. Maybe I'm making that up, but I mean, we know how fragile he is based on his, short history in the NFL. I mean, a guy like Jordan Mason could be a good stash if you can afford the roster spot. Of course. Let me see. Just checking some of my other folks, my other members. What do they got going on here? Nemo's starting Josh Reynolds against Seattle. Should be a lot of points scored. Another big opportunity for Reynolds. He's going to continue to get opportunities for as long as Jameson Williams is out, which is until week 7. He's out until week 7. So Josh Reynolds is going to have clear-cut starting opportunities for the next 5 weeks. Seattle's defense, their secondary is supposed to be solid, but they did not have a good game. Now, Devon Witherspoon didn't play for them, but they did not have a good game week 1. There's no question about that. So, yeah, for Detroit, they're at home, probably feeling themselves a little bit after beating Kansas City in the opener, in the Chiefs home opener. On the road, Lions go in, crash the party. They're feeling themselves. They should continue to do well on offense. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I like it. What's going on, Rojo? It's good to see you, bro. Happy to see you again. As far as Puka Nacua, is Puka Nacua a must start? He was a if he wasn't on the injury report, you might hear me say yes. If he didn't end up on the injury report with that oblique injury later in the week, you might hear me say Puka Nacua is a must start. I don't think he's a must start now, though, because of that injury for two reasons. One, the matchup for sure. San Francisco poses a different challenge that in a way that Seattle can't or doesn't. The other thing is he picks up the oblique injury. So between the matchup and the oblique injury, I would not call Puka Nacua a must start. I will say that he's absolutely a must hold, regardless of what happens. Even if he comes back to earth and doesn't have a great game against the 49ers, which that's what I tend to think is possible, is the most likely outcome now. He doesn't necessarily have a great game on the injury report against a much better defense. I would still say this time next week you hold. You hang on to him. You hang on to Puka until Cooper Kupp proves that he's back to being Cooper Kupp. And even then, Puka's probably going to be worth a hold for at least another couple of weeks to see who emerges behind Cooper Kupp, if anybody, if he's able to be, to come back to being 100% healthy. Puka's a hold for me for at least like a month. I don't know that I would call him a must start this week, but if he's removed from the injury report and you're between guys in the later window in the afternoon slate, he'll be in the conversation. He'll be in the conversation for sure. But good to see you, Rojo. Thanks for jumping in. Let me see. Just moving down the list of my members. I see Greg's got another question. Half PPR. You're thinking of shifting off Dalton Schultz at tight end. That's totally fine. Laporta, Henry, Hurst. Laporta could be fine. The Patriots get the Dolphins this week. So I'm fine with Hunter Henry, but also Mike Gesicki revenge game. So like maybe Hunter Henry doesn't go nuclear the way he did against the Eagles. I think Laporta is fine there, Greg. If you want to pivot off of Dalton Schultz, because on top of all of the injuries that Houston has along the offensive line, CJ Stroud himself is on the injury report with, I think, a shoulder injury. So unless you have Nico Collins, who even him, I'm like a little concerned about, but also he's at the point where I think you have to fire him up if you in three receiver in leagues that start three receivers, unless you've got absolute anchors at wide receiver. Nico needs to be in the starting conversation for leagues that start three wide receivers. That being said, outside of him, I would be incredibly leery of anybody, and that includes, of course, Dalton Schultz. So, yeah, I'm fine with Laporta as a pivot there. I'm fine with Laporta as a pivot there. And then just coming down to Nemo. Nemo, you start your show. I'll be in there. I'll be in the chat room. I'll absolutely guest on. I'll be there for the streams, whatever you got going on. You already know. Yeah. Puka's on the injury report. Christian Watson is a very volatile start this week. Even if he plays, he's very volatile. And yeah, somebody I'm very excited. I'm very optimistic about Jackson Smith and Jigba, but we haven't We haven't seen anything yet. And he's still working his way back from having picked up an injury later in the preseason. So we may not see the full complement of Jackson Smith-Njigba until later in the season. So yeah, I understand not wanting to fire him up yet. So yeah, if you're down to a guy like Josh Reynolds, that's not bad. That's fine. His opportunity is certainly there. All right. Let me come back up to the top again. Appreciate everybody's patience. Like I said, I do go out of order for my members. For the folks that I know that have been around the block for a few years, I make sure I do get to them, but I will get to everybody. So appreciate everybody's patience. If I haven't answered your question yet, I promise I haven't missed it. I will get to it. So let me just come on back up here. I got to Evan's question. I got to Elot's question. I got to Mac's question about running back stashes. If you didn't hear my answer, or if you think I may have missed it, you can repost it. If you missed it, you may have been away. But I do have my spots marked in the chat for the questions. Let me see. So I think Lockett or Garrett Wilson from Astro is where I ended up, or where I last left off. Yeah, I'm going Tyler Lockett. I'm going anybody who has a viable quarterback over Garrett Wilson. And I hate that we're at this point. But Garrett Wilson gets absolutely submarined by Zach Wilson. And in this matchup specifically against Dallas, this is about as bad a matchup as you can ask for. Trayvon Diggs on one side, Stephon Gilmore on the other. The Cowboys defense as a whole is maybe the best in the league. I am not optimistic about Garrett Wilson this week, for this week especially. So yeah, I would go Tyler Lockett over Garrett Wilson. That's where we're at. Should you trade Kupp, Deontay Johnson, and Tyler Algier for A.J. Brown and Alvin Kamara? You might want to actually do that. Look, I mean, Kupp could return from the hamstring injury and be, let's just say he's 75, 80% of the Cooper Kupp that we expect Cooper Kupp to be. That's still a wide receiver one. And Deontay Johnson has wide receiver one upside each week. It won't always play out that way. But with the number of targets that he gets, he'll get wide receiver one upside. He'll have wide receiver one upside once he's healthy, removed from the hamstring injury. We might have to wait until like week 5 or 6 before that's actually a thing. But he'll have wide receiver one upside. It won't always play out that way, but he will. And then with Algier, he's obviously a hot name right now. He's a trendy name because he had a 2-touchdown performance and a lot of carries week 1 against the Panthers for the Falcons. So he's trendy right now. Meanwhile, A.J. Brown had a bad game Thursday night. And so value's down a smidge as far as wide receiver ones go. Alvin Kamara is currently serving a 3-game suspension. He will miss this weekend next before he gets to return to the Saints. You might want to do that because for all of the optimistic things I said about Kupp and Deontay, I mean, Kupp could come back and be himself, or this hamstring could be an issue all season long. And soft tissue injuries certainly can be that. Yeah, I might take AJ and Kamara over that package. I just might. Right. Nick, you're welcome. Let's see. What side do I prefer rest of season? Tyreek Hill, Christian Kirk, or Calvin Ridley and Devontae Adams? Ridley and Adams. Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is a top 2 or 3 receiver, not just in the NFL, but for fantasy purposes as well. But Devontae Adams and Calvin Ridley are both significantly more valuable, multiple tiers more valuable than Christian Kirk. I'll take the two dudes that have wide receiver 1 upside each week over the package of, top 5 upside every week and wide receiver 2 upside each week. Give me the 2. Hill is the best player in this deal, but I would take the 2. I would take the combination of Ridley and Adams over the combination of Tyreek Hill and Christian Kirk. As good as Tyreek Hill is, I think there's a big gap between Ridley and Adams and Christian Kirk. Got all of Greg's questions. Sheldon, thank you again for the super. Let's see. Yeah, I would still play DJ Moore over Rashid Shaheed. Let's see. We're down to DJ Moore, David Montgomery, or Michael Pittman. Reminder, guys, and let me I'm gonna do this. I should have done this earlier. That's on me. I'm gonna just pin a comment into the chat. Just please provide some context if you can. Is it full PPR? Is it half PPR? Do you start 3 receivers? That'll help me answer the question. All right. This is just to this is for my own ability to give you guys as much or the best thought process that I possibly can when I have as much information that I possibly can have to work with. So just a reminder for everybody, but then I'm happy to answer those questions. More Monty or Pittman? I mean, probably David Montgomery, but if it's full PPR, I mean, there's a stronger case to be made for the wide receivers. Tentatively, probably David Montgomery, but Michael Pittman has some appeal for sure if it's full PPR. Let's see. Cade, welcome. Good to see you. Between Dotson, Gus Edwards, or Nico Collins, or Raheem Mostert. Mostert's on the road against New England, so that's a tougher matchup, but he will get the opportunity as the starter. You also have Nico Collins and Dotson. Mostert, I would probably roll the dice on Mostert. It's not a great matchup for him against New England, but he is going to be the guy for at least one more week. Is Devon A-Chain playing? I know he practiced in full last week, but he ultimately didn't play A-Chain. It looks like he doesn't have an injury, no designation for week 2, so he could play, but it'll probably be minimal at best. I would go Mostert over Jahan Dotson, over Gus Edwards, over Nico Collins. Mostert got a score last week. It's going to be a tougher assignment going up against the Patriots defense, but the Dolphins offense is good. They're not going to have any problems moving the football. I would probably play Mostert over those wide receivers and Gus Edwards. Yeah, I'll go Mostert, then Dotson, then Nico, then Gus. Hopefully that helps. Need two at flex in full PPR between Pickens, Jamal, Puka, and Elijah Moore. I would probably go. Man, again, you grabbed Jamal Williams. You grabbed Jamal Williams for these weeks so that you don't have to, so that it's a set and forget type of thing while Alvin Kamara is out. Now, he did not have a good game this past week, but this is a softer matchup in the Carolina Panthers. They got run all over. The Panthers did against the Atlanta Falcons. Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier both had pretty big days. I would fire up Jamal Williams one more time, and I would go Elijah Moore over Pickens and Puka Nacua, given the news that Amari Cooper is questionable with a groin injury. I would go Jamal Williams, and I would go Elijah Moore. Puka was looking real trendy, and then he ended up on the injury report. Even in a bad matchup, he was looking real trendy. But the fact that he pulled he has an oblique injury, he ended up on the injury report. I'm significantly more concerned. Pick two in full PPR between Kelly, Dillon, Pickens, and Nico Collins. The running backs. The running backs. Dillon has a wide open opportunity ahead of him because it doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like Aaron Jones is going to play. So Dillon's got a huge opportunity ahead of him. And then I would fire up Josh Kelly over those wide receivers only because I'm not crazy about the matchup for Joshua Kelly, but he should come through with some volume. Pickens, Nico Collins, tougher spots for them to succeed. Nico's got I like Nico this week, and I'm firing him up if I have lesser options. But for me, I guess between Kelly and Dillon, I'll fire up those running backs over the wide receivers. Pickens is going to draw Denzel Ward. It's a tough spot. It's a tough matchup. And Nico does have a hobbled CJ Stroud and a hobbled Texans offensive line to deal with and work with. And so for me, I'll take the running backs and their opportunities over the wide receivers and their suspect matchups and situations, if that makes sense. Let's see. Kincaid or Ferguson? Kincaid. I'll go Kincaid at home. Softer matchup playing the Raiders versus Ferguson and against the Jets. That Jets defense is really good. I'll take Kincaid attached to Josh Allen. If those are my two options, give me Kincaid. What's going on, Daniel? Appreciate the kind words. Two flex spots in full PPR. Miles Sanders, Christian Watson, Puka Nacua, Brian Robinson, Jahan Dotson. I'm probably pivoting off of Watson and Nacua just because of the injuries. Right? They would be a little bit more enticing, but because of the injuries, Watson's still not 100% off the hamstring injury. Nacua picked up the oblique. I'm probably not going that route. Probably not going that route. So between Brian Robinson, Jahan Dotson, and Sanders. In full PPR, I would probably go Dotson. I'm just not a Miles Sanders guy, but he's probably going to get volume. And Brian Robinson has a tougher matchup on the road against Denver. I guess I would go Dotson and Miles Sanders as your, in full PPR, those two flex spots. I don't feel great about Sanders, but he proved last week that he's going to get volume this year. And so that makes him a little more appealing. And then with Dotson, Patrick Surtain is probably going to shadow Terry McLaurin. That should leave Dotson with some one-on-one coverage. I imagine he has a slightly better game tomorrow than he did last week. I'll take Dotson and Miles Sanders. Watson to the bench for one more week. Puka stays on the bench for one more week after picking up the injury. And while I like Brian Robinson, it is a tougher matchup against the Broncos on the road than Arizona at home. So I'll go Dotson and Sanders. Let's see. You have Garrett Wilson in full PPR. You start three receivers. First, Garrett Wilson or Puka. That's where you got to go Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson or Pickens. Let me see. So it's Garrett Wilson, Pickens, Tank Dell, Romeo Dubs, Puka. Oh, it's three. Okay, it's different leagues. I would go Garrett Wilson over Puka. I would go Garrett Wilson over George Pickens because Pickens also has a tough matchup. He's going to see Denzel Ward with Deontay Johnson out for the Steelers. That's a tougher spot. So I'll take Wilson over Pickens. If Christian Watson is out, Romeo Dubs will see AJ Terrell for the Falcons. So that's a tough matchup as well. But Romeo Dubs caught 2 touchdowns last week. Yeah, it was against the Bears, but Jordan Love looks like he might be decent. Jordan Love looks like he might be solid, and he's clearly got some type of chemistry, some type of rapport with Romeo Dubs. If Christian Watson is out, I would go Romeo Dubs over Garrett Wilson. That's how far we've fallen with Garrett Wilson. It's not his fault. It's Zach Wilson. Wilson over Puka because Puka's on the injury report. Wilson over Pickens because Pickens also, like Wilson, has a tough matchup. Tank Dell, not in consideration. He's not in consideration yet here. But I would go Dubs over Garrett Wilson if Christian Watson is ruled out tomorrow. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. And yeah, Nemo, I see you are talking about it with other questions in the chat. I like the Colts defense a lot tomorrow. I've already talked about it. Dameon Pierce is going to have some tough sledding tomorrow. Multiple guys out for the Texans offense on their offensive line, and CJ Stroud himself is dealing with a shoulder injury. I am streaming the Colts defense in a lot of areas tomorrow. Just FYI. All right, I got a trade question here. You were Derrick Henry and ETN for Eckler and Waddle. That's a lot of running back depth but also Eckler and Waddle is probably that's the better side of the trade. Eckler and Waddle is what I would prefer to have. You have Mixon and DeAndre Swift. So you'd be giving up Henry and ETN, but you'd be gaining Eckler back. Yeah, I would do that deal. You'd get Eckler and Waddle for Henry and ETN. Yeah, I would do that trade. You're not going to have Eckler for this week. That sucks, but we're not expecting a long-term injury here for him. And you're getting Waddle, who is a big upgrade at wide receiver. Yeah, I would do that. I would do that, Daniel. I would do that trade. If I'm getting Eckler and Waddle, and it looks like you are because you're asking, should you trade up for a better wide receiver? The answer for me right there, given those parameters, the answer is yes. Give me Eckler and Waddle over Derrick Henry and Travis Etienne. Very quietly, guys, last week, Derrick Henry, he got his from a production perspective, but he was in a full-blown committee snap-wise with Tajay Spears. Tajay Spears, I think, got like every third down snap. And that's not to say like it's the end for Derrick Henry, but also he's going to have to come through potentially on fewer snaps than we're accustomed to with a guy like Derrick Henry this year for him to deliver the goods from a return on investment perspective of where you drafted him. If he's not getting on the field as much as he was in years past because Tajay Spears is vulturing some snaps and touches, yeah, you're going to need Derrick Henry to come through with 100 yards and a touchdown on less touches than he usually gets. Can he do it? Yeah, he's Derrick freaking Henry, but I mean, it's a taller order when you're not on the field as much. And Ela, I got your question. That one's handled. I got Greg's question about moving off of Dalton Schultz. Let's see. On your bench, you have Bateman and Charbonnet. Would I drop either for Shaheed or Tajay Spears? That's a good question. I don't really want to drop Rashad Bateman because I think he's going to play more as the season progresses. I just don't think he played a ton last week because he's coming back from a season-ending injury last year, and they want to put him on a bit of a pitch count for now. So I don't really want to drop Rashad Bateman. And I also don't really want to drop Charbonnet because I don't think 1 week is an indicator of like what he could potentially give you this year as a guy that you probably drafted 110, 115 picks into the draft. That's valuable. I don't want to give up on that after 1 week. I love Rashid Shaheed. I'm a huge Rashid Shaheed fan. And Spears is very interesting. I just got done talking about how he pretty much forced a committee with Derrick Henry, but those are two names that I'm probably going to hold out on for 1 more week. Rashad Bateman and Zach Charbonnet are probably guys that I want to wait on for a little bit longer. Definitely Charbonnet over Bateman, but I think I want to keep both for 1 more week. And let's see what happens. We'll see what happens from there. Start 1 at flex with full PPR. Godwin, Sanders, Kelly, Nico Collins, and Puka. Who does Tampa Bay have? Oh, they have the Bears. Godwin? I mean, Miles Sanders is going to get the volume and is probably the safe play. Miles Sanders is probably the safe play in full PPR between Chris Godwin, Miles Sanders, Josh Kelly, Nico Collins, Puka. Miles Sanders is probably the safe play because of the volume. I just have a hard time endorsing Miles Sanders because he was a guy that I just was not in on over the course of the offseason. I'm tentatively saying Chris Godwin because he's got a great matchup against the Chicago Bears at home. Bears are a train wreck. They just let Romeo Doubs score 2 touchdowns on them. Chris Godwin is a better player than Romeo Doubs. No disrespect to Doubs, but Godwin is a better player at home. Sanders is your safe play, but I would want to play Godwin. I'm not a big Miles Sanders guy. I might get burned for that this year. Maybe I lead people astray by telling people that I'm not into Miles Sanders and therefore I would put him on the bench. If I have other guys that I like, that I prefer, I would go Chris Godwin. Josh Kelly is also probably safe, but he's in a bad matchup. I like Chris Godwin. This might be a little bit of bias just because I'm a fan of Chris Godwin. I've been a fan of his for several years. I like his production. I know that it's not going to be the same because it's not Tom Brady anymore back there, but he had a decent game week 1. Baker Mayfield might not be a complete disaster, especially when he has to face the Chicago Bears at home. The Bears defense is not good. I'll take Godwin. I feel like I'm going out on a bit of a limb with that one, but I think I'll take Godwin. And Eli, okay, you gotta maybe swing for the fences a little bit. Your opponent had Hawkinson. I would go Gabe Davis. I would swing for the fences and go Gabe Davis. At home, could catch a bomb. I think this is a get right week for the Bills. You know, Josh Allen had a horrendous game Monday night. They lost to the Jets. Now the Raiders come into town. The Bills are expected to be a better team than the Raiders. Yeah, I would roll the dice on Gabe Davis if you need some upside, for sure. For sure. Nemo, we're on the same page with Chris Godwin. Let's see. Trey's got a question. Full PPR, start to Garrett Wilson, Michael Pittman, Elijah Moore, Rashad White, Javonte Williams, or James Cook. Damn. Those last two running backs, I think, even though it's full PPR. Garrett, well, I mean, we're getting a lot of Garrett Wilson questions, and rightfully so. It's absolutely fair to ask that of Garrett Wilson. This is not a situation where you're just like, screw it. Garrett Wilson's really good. He's really talented. We'll just fire him up and hope for the best. No, this is a significant downgrade in situation for him for the rest of the season, and it is as bad of a matchup as it gets, having to play Trayvon Diggs, Stephon Gilmore, and the rest of that Cowboys defense with Zach Wilson throwing you the football behind a suspect offensive line. I think Garrett Wilson does need to be on the bench this week, unless you have like no other clear-cut options. Now, Trey, you do. I would probably go those last two running backs between Javonte Williams and James Cook. That's probably what I would do. I like Rashad White. I like him a lot. But I maybe was a little too bullish on him. This Bucs offensive line is still not very good, and Rashad White himself did not have a good game. He got the work, he got the volume, but he was not productive with the touches that he got. Some of that was on him. Even in full PPR, where it feels like it's more enticing to start wide receivers, I would fire up your running backs, Javonte Williams and James Cook. Nothing scary about the matchup for Javonte at home, and James Cook is likewise. Nothing scary about the matchup at home, and he got RB1 usage last week. I'll take those latter two running backs. I'll take Javonte Williams and I'll take James Cook. I'm good with those guys. I'll take those guys. Commanders, Giants, Texans, or Colts for your defense. Yeah. So in case you just missed it, I mentioned it a couple weeks ago or a couple minutes ago, excuse me. I really like the Indianapolis Colts as a defense stream this week, even though they are on the road. The Texans have multiple injuries along the offensive line. CJ Stroud himself is coming into the game with a shoulder injury. This is a beat up Texans offense that already isn't that good. I like the Colts defense this week. They should get a couple of sacks. They should get plenty of pressure on Stroud, possibly playing behind multiple backups along the offensive line, and he's coming in with a an injury designation himself. I like the Colts. The Giants should be fine against Arizona. Arizona's not a good offense. You should be chasing them all season long. But let's see how the Giants respond first, coming off of an absolute drubbing of a performance Sunday Night Football. They would have been a little bit more of a layup for me if they had proven to be even slightly more competent than they were Sunday night against the Cowboys. And then for the Commanders on the road, it's okay, not great. Texans, no way. I think they're just going to be in too many bad spots this week, too many bad positions this week. I like the Colts as a stream this week. The Cleveland Browns are also a very good stream if they're still available. They might not be, but going up against Pittsburgh, down Deontay Johnson. Pittsburgh was not good last week. Cleveland's got a strong pass rush. They're also a very viable pickup. They might already be picked up, but they are a good option as well. If not, I really like the Indianapolis Colts defense as a stream this week. Houston looks pretty banged up on offense, so I like the Colts. For anybody who is, not 100% settled on their team, on their defense, I like the Colts as a stream this week for sure. And you're welcome for the content. I'm here as many weekends as I possibly can be. Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern, Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, excuse me. So I am here tomorrow, 2 hours before the start of the slate. If you guys need any last minute help, if you need any more reassurance, maybe you asked a question tonight and you just need a little bit more reassurance, I am here. I will be here 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow morning before the main slate kicks off. If you guys need any last minute help, be sure to come hang out. Tuesday's waiver wire show. Thursdays we'll do some Thursday night football preview / could be a look ahead to the upcoming week and a recap of injury reports, all that good stuff. 4 live streams a week. I get videos out when I can, as I can in between the streams. So yeah, appreciate the support. Nemo thinks you should fire up the Giants. Look, that's fine. They're playing the Cardinals. The Cardinals are going to be anemic on offense all season long. That's totally fine. I like the Colts tomorrow, personally. But I do like chasing any defense that's playing the Cardinals. I do like that. I'm perfectly fine with that. I am opting for the Colts personally this week, but the Giants are fine to fire up as well. I would be a little bit more in on the Giants, but now after last week's Sunday night performance, I need to see a little something from them before I go all in on them, if that makes sense. And also, if you can trade Kittle for Mark Andrews, you absolutely do it. You 100% do it. So same thing here between the Colts and the Packers. I'll take the Colts. I like the Colts this week. Again, Houston, multiple injuries along the offensive line. I don't even know. Is Laramie Tunsil, who is their clear best player, is he even going to play this week? Didn't practice yesterday. Not looking good. I would be firing up the Colts. If they don't even have Laramie Tunsil on their offensive line, boo boy, it's going to be a long day for CJ Stroud. I like the Colts this week. Then yeah, Stroud is got an injury designation with his throwing shoulder. Not great. Not great. As far as rate the team questions, these are difficult. I don't always entertain these, to be completely honest, because anything can happen. I mean, it looks pretty good on paper. I would be looking for, I guess, a little bit more running back help. Eckler's already hurt. Swift looks like he could be fired up most weeks now moving forward, but he might be a little inconsistent with being on the Eagles. And then Raheem Mostert is a hot commodity now. You might be able to sell high on him because when, not only will Jeff Wilson come back eventually off of IR, but we expect Devon Achane to get more involved as the season progresses. So maybe you package like Michael Thomas and Raheem Mostert for a running back upgrade. Wait for a poor performance at running back this week and see if you can capitalize like Raheem and Michael Thomas for like a running back upgrade, something like that. Wait and check the performances this week, and we can talk shop on that on Tuesday. But yeah, I mean, looks pretty good overall. Looks pretty good overall. Nemo, you got to choose between Akers and Javonte. I would start Javonte. Akers is officially on the wait and see list. I don't think Akers season, I don't think we can't like put nails in the coffin on Akers season. Not yet. But last week was abysmal, and now he has to run against the San Francisco 49ers. I will take Javonte for sure. 100%. I will take Javonte over Akers. Absolutely. I'm not declaring Akers a failure. I'm not declaring that Akers was a bad pick this year. Not yet. It doesn't feel great after 1 week. It's probably not going to feel much better after this week, given the matchup. I'm not giving up on him yet, but I am pivoting off of him if I can. Let's see. One running back between Josh Kelly, Najee, and Gibson, and then a receiver and flex between Elijah Moore, Zay Jones. Okay, well, Olave is not in this conversation because you're firing up Olave as your one wide receiver. There's without question there. As far as your one running back and your flex, I guess I would go Kelly. Again, I'm not super bullish on Joshua Kelly this week. The Titans are good at stopping the run, and Kelly is a backup. But man, I don't feel great about Najee right now, and it's a bad matchup for him against Cleveland. I'll take the spot start in this situation. I'll take Kelly as your running back. You're putting Olave as your wide receiver without question. And as your flex, if Christian Watson sits, I would play Romeo Doubs. If Christian Watson is active, I would fire up Elijah Moore because he looks really enticing with this Amari Cooper late add to the injury report on Monday night. So if Watson is out, Romeo Doubs. If Christian Watson is in, I might actually lean Elijah Moore. But Josh Kelly for your running back, and Olave doesn't need to be in these conversations. You start him every week, no matter what. You start Olave no matter what. Let's wait on Judy. He's expected to be on a pitch count this week. Let's see how he does before we fire him up. Tequila, you're welcome. Appreciate the kind words. Yeah, we've been running this this channel for a few years now. If you like what you see, if you feel so inclined, obviously subs are appreciated. If you're interested even further, I do have membership information in the first link in the description of this live stream and all of my videos, all of my streams, if you feel so inclined. And then, of course, in the second link in the description of this live stream and all of my videos is my Discord. So if you're not in the Discord and you want to be a part of it, if you want to join up, by all means, feel free. It is an open invite to anybody. I do give more attention and analysis to my members. That's another perk of being a member. You will get more from me in the Discord, and I'm more likely to get back to you in as quickly as I possibly can. I will converse with the general public in there. Ideally, it is something where you guys can kind of bounce ideas back and forth off of each other. I jump in there when I can. Ultimately, the members get, they will get a little bit more attention and analysis from me for being members. But Discord is an open invite for anybody who wants to be a part of that. All right, let's see. I'm at Franz's question. Full PPR, 14 team, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. If you would trade Zay Flowers for Jordan Love, Brian Robinson, and Hunter Henry. Oh, you would trade for Zay Flowers. What does the rest of your team look like? What does the rest of your team look like? Like, are you desperate for a tight end? Are you desperate for running back depth? Did you just lose Aaron Rodgers and you're desperate for a quarterback? If the answer to all 3 of those questions is yes, and you have some good wide receivers, then I would do a 3-for-1 trade because that's just insane value to pass up. But if you've got good running back depth and Brian Robinson is just kind of a bench warmer for you, but he's, you want to hang on to him for depth. If Jordan Love is a clear-cut QB2 for you, if Hunter Henry is a clear-cut tight end 2 for you, then no, hold Zay Flowers. It depends on your team's makeup. It depends on your team's makeup. Ryan, you're welcome. Appreciate the kind words. Happy to talk shop with you guys. I don't get, if any of you guys are on social media, or maybe you just like, through the grapevine, you hear that old mantra, like nobody cares about your fantasy team. I care. I care about your fantasy team, and I want to help if you feel so inclined to ask for my advice or suggestions. So we ignore those. We ignore that negative social media energy over here. It's all good vibes. It's all about helping y'all make the best decision. I hope, obviously, I'm not going to be right 100 times out of 100 or even 10 times out of 10. The best thing I can do for you guys is give you my thoughts on your situation and why I think one course of action makes sense over the other. Hopefully it works out for y'all. It's all about the process, and that's what it comes down to. But appreciate the kind words. 12-team full PPR. You traded Pittman and Algier for Waddle. Nice. Nicely done, Logan. I like that a lot for you. That's a big upgrade. That's real nice. Congratulate. Pat yourself on the back. Pour yourself a drink. Pat yourself on the back. Whatever you got to do. That's a great trade. I know Tyreek Hill went absolutely nuclear week 1. Jalen Waddle's going to have his big-time wide receiver 1 weeks 2. As I should say, have his big wide receiver 1 weeks as well. Nicely done. Pittman had a good week 1. Good for him. I like Michael Pittman. But it's going to be tougher sledding for him this year, catching passes from a rookie quarterback. And Algier had a great week 1 himself, but he's still a backup. Waddle was a top 17 or 18 pick in redraft leagues this year. Nicely done. I like that trade a lot. I like that trade a lot for you. Well done. Well done. And yeah, agreed. Rather have Andrews than Kittle. 10 times out of 10. Is Ayuk going to be great this year? You bet your ass he is. Brandon Ayuk is nice. Brandon Ayuk is really good. Brandon Ayuk needs to be in all y'all starting lineups for the rest of the season. Former first-round pick. It looks like he's developed a big-time chemistry with Brock Purdy. He's probably going to be a little volatile just because Christian McCaffrey is great. Deebo Samuel is great. There are going to be games where the 49ers just lean on their run game because that's what they do. But Brandon Ayuk is nice, man. He's so freaking good. Is he going to catch 2 touchdowns every week? Nah. Is he going to give you wide receiver 1 week sprinkled throughout the season, which blows his projection of his original ADP out of the water? Yeah, that's going to happen. Brandon Ayuk is a dog. He is a dude. Stealing from Pat McAfee a little bit there, but Brandon Ayuk is nice. And he's going to have a great year. Running back and flex PPR. Mixon, Harris, James Cook, Kelly. Mixon and James Cook. I don't trust Najee right now. I need to see a better performance from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, you know what I need to see? You know what we all need to see? Steelers fans especially. We need to see Matt Canada get the freaking boot. His ass needs to go. Somebody tweeted this out. It's on X now, or Twitter now X, whatever you want to call it. Somebody tweeted this. Is it still called tweeted? Or do we say like somebody X'd this out? Somebody X'd this on social media. Anyway, that the Steelers do not have a 400-yard effort on offense in any game for like 2.5 years, dating back to like the 2020 season or the 2021 season, excuse me. That is inexcusable in today's NFL. Matt Canada is a boob. The Steelers are suffering on offense because he's their offensive coordinator. And it is difficult to trust those guys on a week-to-week basis. You feel fine about guys like Deontay Johnson and George Pickens relative to expectations, but holy crap, this offense is not going to be able to have any sustained amount of success because of their offensive coordinator, and the proof is in the pudding from the last couple of seasons. I'm not even a Steelers fan, by the way. Rant over. I don't trust Najee Harris. I have a hard time trusting Steelers in general. So I'll take Mixon in a bounce back game for the Bengals at home. And I like James Cook. He got RB1 usage on Monday night against the Jets. And while the production wasn't stellar, it wasn't bad. I'll take James Cook. Joshua Kelly is like third here for me. Yeah, over Najee Harris. That's how far Najee Harris has fallen for me. I was a little too bullish on him this offseason, and I apologize to those that I suggested you draft him. He could still come through on volume, but we need to get some of these bad matchups out of the way first, and Cleveland is a bad matchup for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mixon, James Cook. I think Cook has a really nice day at home against the Raiders for Buffalo in a bounce-back game for the Bills. They're going to come out of that game. They're going to come out into that game pissed off based on how Monday night happened, especially Josh Allen. What's up, Jaws? PPR flex, Walker, Pacheco, or Sutton? Walker. That's a tough matchup. But I like Kenneth Walker. I know he's good. I know he can play. Walker, Pacheco, or Sutton? This might be Pacheco later in the season. The answer might be Pacheco later in the season, but I can't do it yet. I think you got to go Walker. And with Sutton, with Judy back, even on a pitch count, I don't want to play Cortland Sutton. The proof is in the pudding. Sutton's numbers when Judy's on the field are bad. And even if Jerry Judy's on a pitch count, I don't want to fire up Cortland Sutton. I'll take Kenneth Walker over Pacheco, over Cortland Sutton. Even it's not a great matchup, but I'll take the best player of that group. I'll take Walker. I'll take Walker. Dotson, Watson, or Gabe Davis? Probably not Watson because of the hamstring injury. Davis is a boom bust play. Dotson feels like he could be a little bit safer. Gabe's ceiling is higher, but his floor is lower. So for me, if Christian Watson is made active tomorrow, that kind of throws a wrinkle into this situation, but I probably would still not play him. Not his first week back coming off a hamstring injury. If Christian Watson pops off tomorrow, it'll be on my bench. Gabe Davis is your ceiling play, but if you think you can play it safe and Dotson has a perfectly fine floor himself, he should come through for you. Patrick Surtain is going to be on Terry McLaurin, so that should open up Dotson for one-on-one coverage most of the game. Dotson is your safe play. Davis is your ceiling play. Based on your situation, play it based on that. Start two between Kelly, Brees, and Cooper, the first two. I am pivoting off Amari Cooper if I have viable options. I do not want to mess around with a wide receiver who's playing on Monday night, who is a late add to the injury report. If Cooper does well, I'll eat my words. But aggravating a groin injury, and aggravating means that there was an existing injury, right? He was already being a little bothered by this. Now he aggravates an potentially existing injury, and it's on Monday night when your options to replace him are as limited as it gets. I'll take Kelly despite the bad matchup. I'll take Brees despite the bad matchup because I feel like I can get better floor plays out of those two than I can out of Amari Cooper, given the fact that he was a late add to the injury report. I am not feeling Amari Cooper this week. Not crazy about it. Nemo, appreciate the kind words, man. You already know. One of my day ones. I have multiple day ones, and I love all of them. Great contributors to the discourse, the dialogue, the channel as a whole. I wanted to get one of the perks of being a member of this channel is that you can play fantasy football with me. Unfortunately, we did have some drops due to an off-season kind of transition. So lost a few folks. So we didn't quite have the numbers to have a fantasy league this year with the members. I intend to have that be different in 2024. So if you do want to play fantasy with the members of this channel, with myself, your buy-in will just be your membership subscription to the channel. I'll take care of all the commissioner duties. It's a fun time. So that'll certainly resurface in 2024. But yeah, appreciate it, Nemo. And you hit me up in Discord at any time. You already know. Between Baker Mayfield or Derek Carr. Baker's got, I guess, more top-heavy options in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Derek Carr's got a little bit more of like a deeper collection between Olave, Michael Thomas, Rashid Shaheed. Nothing scary about either matchup. I guess I would lean Baker because it's not a division game. You know how division games can just be weird, right? Y'all know this. If you guys are fans of the NFL, and I know y'all are, obviously, otherwise you wouldn't be in here, you know that division games can be weird. You have to throw out records and rosters and starting lineups and all that stuff when two division teams square off. A bad team can beat a division opponent. We see it happen all the time, and we can see it cause problems for the other team all the time. Doesn't always play out that way, but the chances of it go up. I'll take Baker slightly. It's not great. You don't feel super great about it, but the Bears are not good on, well, they're not good anywhere, unfortunately, but they're not good on defense. Baker at home with guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin to throw the football to. We'll throw Rachaad White in there as well. He's a viable pass catcher as a running back. Yeah, that's fine. If you're leaning, if you like Baker, you like the matchup, then play Baker. Yeah, matchup's good. Options are good. His offensive line isn't great, but they do have some good players. Tristan Wirfs, Ryan Jensen. The other three spots are question marks, but they do at least have a couple good guys on that offensive line. Yeah, Baker's fine over Derek Carr. That's a fine pivot. That's a fine pivot. And yeah, hit me up in Discord. We'll talk shop. We'll talk shop. What value should you trade Hopkins for? I'm sorry, I'm a little confused by the layout of that question. LeBron's, if you're still in here, what I'm give me a little bit more context here. Should I trade with are you asking, should you trade DeAndre Hopkins for Garrett Wilson? Give me some context of that question, and we can try to help you out. Let me see. Where am I at? Pick 2 in full PPR. Flowers, Dotson, Lockett, or Godwin. I really like Godwin. Again, really good matchup at home against the Chicago Bears. They're not very impressive on defense. They're not really impressive anywhere, unfortunately. I'm starting to get worried about Justin Fields, but they're not impressive on defense for sure. I'd probably go Godwin, and then it's either Flowers or Dotson. I kind of like the spot that Dotson is in. I would probably lean Dotson. Let's see how Flowers does. Mark Andrews is going to be back for the Baltimore Ravens. I expect Rashad Bateman to see more snaps and routes run as his season progresses, as he moves away from the injury that cost him his season last year. Flowers had a great debut, had a great week 1, and he looks like he's going to be a player. But let's see how that pecking order shakes out with Mark Andrews back in the mix for Baltimore. I would go Godwin and Dotson tentatively. Lockett is 4th for me right now. feels disrespectful, but also Seattle's got something to prove on offense after only putting up 13 points at home week 1. Who would I sit out of these 4? Gibbs, Connor, Godwin, Dillon. You pick 3 and sit 1. You're firing up Gibbs. You're firing up Dillon if Aaron Jones is out. Arizona gets the Giants. You're firing up Gibbs for sure. I would say you're firing up Connor for sure as well, because he gets RB1 work. He gets an RB1 workload. I would say Gibbs and Connor for sure, Venkat, and then Dillon if Aaron Jones doesn't play, and that's looking likely. But if Aaron Jones is a surprise active, then I would play Chris Godwin. But if Aaron Jones is ruled out, I would play Dillon over Godwin. Only if Aaron Jones is ruled out. Gibbs and Connor, for me, are definitively in your lineup. And you have Diggs and Devontae Smith as your other two. All right, cool. It's 3 wide receivers, 1 flex. Yeah, so I would take Godwin and I would take Dotson. I hate putting Flowers on the bench after what he did last week, but with Mark Andrews coming back, let's see how that shakes out before we fire him back up again. Nemo, we're on the same page. And then let me jump down to LeBron's. He did ask a question earlier, gave me a little bit more context. So let's see if we can figure this out. If you were to pair a player with Hopkins for Wilson, okay, got you. What's the rest of your? Give me your team, and we can kind of sort it out, because I could speculate here, or if I just know what options you have to trade, we can just kind of do this, definitively knowing the guys that you have available for making a trade. Drop your whole team, and I will follow up, and I'll get back to you. Let's see. Elout, happy to hear it. If we can help just one person win the league, that's all, or win their league, that's that, then obviously I want to help more than one, but the goal is to get some fantasy championships. Happy to hear it. Do I see Fields and DJ Moore bouncing back this week? I wish I could say yes. I wish I could say yes. My answer is I'm not optimistic for 2 reasons. One, this is a tough matchup. They got to go on the road in Tampa Bay. It's going to be what's the weather in Tampa Bay tomorrow? It's going to be 90 degrees. Is it going to rain? Is it going to rain in Tampa tomorrow? Don't fire up any kickers in that game. I'm checking the weather in Tampa. Early in the season, these really hot games, right? These 90-degree games in southern Florida, not southern Florida, but Florida. That can be tough to work through. Yeah, it's going to be 90 degrees tomorrow with 25% chance of rain. My answer is no. I do not see Fields and DJ Moore bouncing back this week. Not a great spot. Having to go to Tampa early in the season. Weather's going to suck. It's going to be hot. It might rain. There's good players on Tampa's defense still. Vita Vea, Devin White. Carlton Davis, is he out for them? He is out. Okay, so that helps DJ Moore. But there are still good players along this front 7 for Tampa Bay. Shaq Barrett as well. Did I forget about him? I mean, he's still there. Yeah, he's still there. Didn't have a huge game week 1, but he's still there. Tough matchup. And here's the other thing. The time is ticking as far as all right, Justin Fields, it's put up or shut up time. And he looked really bad against the Packers. I know that his supporting cast is not strong. The offensive line is still weak. But damn it, man, we got to see if you need to be able to prove that you are an NFL passer. And I have been a big supporter of Justin Fields. I want Justin Fields to succeed. I hope Justin Fields balls out. I hope he bounces back, proves me wrong, goes nuts tomorrow. I don't see it. Do you have to start Justin Fields tomorrow? Yeah. Obviously in SuperFlex leagues and even in one quarterback leagues, you have to start Justin Fields tomorrow. But I don't feel good. I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about it at all. I am officially very worried about Justin Fields. And then, okay, you need a running back, a wide receiver, and a flex. Josh Kelly, Najee Harris, Zay Jones, Dubs, Elijah Moore, Michael Thomas. Your running back is Joshua Kelly. Your wide receiver. So here's what you do. I would put Romeo Dubs at your wide receiver spot, especially if Christian Watson is ruled out tomorrow. I would put Romeo Dubs in your wide receiver spot. I would put Michael Thomas in your flex. If Amari Cooper is ruled out, I would put Elijah Moore in over Michael Thomas. Both players play on Monday night, so you have the luxury of waiting to see what the vibes are on Amari Cooper going into the game. The Saints play first, so that does add like a slight extra wrinkle to this, but I would have to imagine there's only an hour between each game. The injury report for Brown Steelers should be out before Saints Panthers kicks off. So I would tentatively put Michael Thomas in my flex. And if Amari Cooper is made inactive, ruled out, I would swap out Michael Thomas and put in Elijah Moore. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. Let's see. Got a trade question. You were offered Joe Mixon for Garrett Wilson. You have Amon-Ra, you have Amari Cooper, you have Brandon Ayuk. Yeah, I would do that deal. If you're getting Joe Mixon, yes, I would do that trade. Garrett Wilson's value is potentially in the toilet for the rest of the season. If you can get out now while you can, and you're going to get a volume running back in Joe Mixon. Mixon has lost a step. He's not a 24-year-old running back anymore, but he will get good volume in a good Bengals offense. I would absolutely, especially if it fills a need. Yes, I would take that. I would take Joe Mixon for Garrett Wilson. That's where we're at with Garrett Wilson right now. We have to fade him. I would say significantly. We have to fade him. It sucks, but that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Hunter Henry or Chig Okonkwo. This is interesting. Chig Okonkwo screwed us last week, right? Big fat 0. But DeAndre Hopkins is on the injury report. And while he probably will play, because DeAndre Hopkins has a history of playing through things when it actually, when it matters. He didn't play through injuries at the end of the Cardinals season last season, but that's because they were out of it, and so it didn't matter. I kind of like Chig to bounce back because there's nowhere to go from a 0 but up. With DeAndre Hopkins on the injury report, so at best he's going to be playing less than 100%. In a matchup at home for the Titans where there should be some more points scored going up against the Chargers. Hunter Henry should be fine, but also is this a Mike Gesicki revenge game because they're playing the Dolphins? I would tentatively lean on Chig for one more week. It's close, but I would roll the dice on Chig Okonkwo. I drafted him higher than, Hunter Henry wasn't getting drafted in 10 and 12 team leagues. Maybe at the very end of the draft he was, maybe like the last round. But Chig was getting drafted multiple rounds higher than that. based on expectation. Let's roll with Chigakonkwo for one more week. And if he has another bad game, then we can pivot to Hunter Henry next week. I'll go with Chig over Hunter Henry one more week. Hey, yeah. If I tweet twice or if I X twice, we'll drink a couple beers. I'll cheers to that. Headed to a little get together myself this evening. It was supposed to be over Memorial Day, but the host got sick, so it got rescheduled to tonight. So there will be beers flowing. Make no mistake. Trading Devontae Adams, Kirk Cousins, Jahan Dotson. Oh, it's a dynasty question. All right. Adams, Cousins, Dotson, a 24 first for Olave, Nico Collins, and a 25 second. Okay. So I need some context here. Is it SuperFlex? Is it, I guess SuperFlex, that's the biggest thing. Is it SuperFlex? Where will that 24 first land? Do you expect your team to be bad after this trade? Then you're not going to want to trade your first round pick. If you expect your team to not be good, like if you're rebuilding, then you want to keep your first round pick. And I know that ideally, or in theory, Olave makes up for it. But if you're blowing it up because you're getting rid of Devontae Adams, you're maybe getting rid of Kirk. Maybe this is super flex, so you're getting rid of Kirk Cousins. You're also getting rid of Jahan Dotson, who is a really good young option, really good young receiver, good strong depth for any dynasty team. That 2024 first might be pretty good. I don't think I would do that. If you could get Olave and Collins and take those picks out of the deal, then that's different. That's one thing. Then I would actually be interested. But if I have to give up the first on top of those names that I'm giving up, I know a lot. I love Olave. He's going to be awesome for a while. He's a top 6 or 7 dynasty wide receiver, maybe even a little bit higher than that. That's a significant package to be giving up when you factor in a 2024 first round pick on which might be good if your team is, if you're blowing it up a little bit. That's going to be a mid first round pick at worst. You want that pick. Should you drop Chigakonkwo for Dalton Kincaid? I don't know that I'm necessarily there yet. Kincaid looked pretty good on Monday night. I mean, his situation is certainly better, catching passes from Josh Allen. But I don't want to give up on Chigakonkwo. He flashed big time potential and talent last year. I know he dudded. I know he goose-egged week 1, but it's just week 1. I want to roll the dice on Chig for one more week before I drop him for somebody like Dalton Kincaid. I want to keep him for one more week. Let's see how he does. 12-team SuperFlex, or it's just 2 quarterbacks, full PPR. 1 running back from Pirine or Moss. Oh, man, maybe Moss. Between him and Pirine. I mean, Pirine should be fine this week, but Moss should be the starter this week. And there's a decent chance Indianapolis controls that game given all the injuries that Houston has on offense. I would slightly lean Moss over Pirine, but it's close. But I would slightly lean Pirine. And then pick 2 flexes from Puka, Nico, Elijah Moore, and Pickens. Nico Collins for sure. Given those options, I know Stroud is coming in with a shoulder injury, but I like Nico to see some volume. And then You have pick. I'm not starting Puka, given these guys, given these options, just because Puka's on the injury report. Little more worried about him now. I'd probably go Elijah Moore. I would probably go Nico Collins and Elijah Moore. I think Elijah Moore has some decent volume coming his way, given Amari Cooper's injury. Late add to the injury report. I like Elijah Moore. I think he's got solid volume coming his way. I'll take Nico Collins and I'll take Elijah Moore. Let's see. Start two between Puka, Elijah Moore, and Brian Robinson. Yes, Elijah Moore goes up the rankings, especially if Amari Cooper is out. The fact that he's picked up an injury late out to the injury report, yeah, I mean, Elijah Moore is higher for me. I would probably go Elijah Moore. It's close between Puka and Brian Robinson. Because Puka was an add to the injury report, I'm a little more concerned about him. And so in this situation, I would take Brian Robinson. I'll take Elijah Moore and I'll take Brian Robinson over Puka. Nemo, thanks for coming in. Let's get that dub. Hook 'em. We'll see you tomorrow. So yeah, I got Cruz's question. I would go Elijah Moore and Brian Robinson over Puka. Puka being on the injury report just gives me a little bit of pause with him. Plus the matchup, it's a bad matchup. In a 2-quarterback, you have Bryce Young on your bench. Is this still the Charlie? Were you the one who asked the question, the dynasty question? Is this the same league? I mean, if it's dynasty, you're holding on to Bryce Young. If this is redraft, I mean, his upside is capped this year as a rookie wide receiver on a not great offense with less than stellar overall collection of pass catching talent. His ceiling is capped, but I mean, there's plenty of appeal for, down the line moving forward. In Dynasty. What's going on, AB? There's another one of my that's another day one. Good to see you, AB. Thanks for stopping in. Let me know if you got any questions. Member for a year and a half. Appreciate the hell out of you. Thanks, man. Almost a year and a half. 18 months for everybody who's into technicalities. Let's see. PPR pick 2, Zay Flowers, Puka, or Christian Kirk. Zay. And man, I was a little surprised. I thought we would get a couple more Christian Kirk start-sit questions. This might be the first one, unless I'm misremembering. I'm a little leery of Zay Flowers just because Mark Andrews is back. But given these options, I think you go Zay Flowers. Let's see what he can do, even with Mark Andrews back. And Christian Kirk, really disappointed last week. But if there's any matchup for him to deliver the goods, it should be in a matchup against Kansas City where there is more potential for lots of points to be scored. If Puka was off the injury report, if Puka was healthy, didn't pick up that oblique injury that forced him to get added to the injury report, I would be saying Puka over Christian Kirk. But the fact that Puka was added to the injury report, let's try Christian Kirk against the Chiefs. Should be a high-scoring affair. Should be more opportunities for Kirk in this one to put up some production. I'll take Zay. I'll take Kirk. 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 I'll take And it's all good, AB. Yeah, I mean, the support is appreciated. And then whenever you're able to make your way in, you let me know what I can do for you, whatever I can help out with. Appreciate you making some time. Let's see. Would I keep Pickens or pick up Zay Jones, Dubs, or Shaheed? Probably. Man, it's between either Pickens or Dubs, to be honest. Right now, Pickens has probably more appeal, but that could change when Deontay Johnson gets back from the hamstring injury. Dubs looks like he has built great chemistry with Jordan Love. I don't want to drop George Pickens. He's too good to be on waivers. But honestly, at this point, so is Dubs. Could you trade Pickens? Could you trade Pickens for I don't know. Could you trade Pickens as part of a larger package? Maybe you do a 3-for-2 where you get the best player in the deal and then you free up a roster spot so you could pick up Dubs. I know that's kind of involved. That's a little bit more detailed, and that's a difficult thing to actually execute and make happen. But man, we might want Dubs over Pickens. Dubs looks like he's built a great rapport with Jordan Love. Might want to go Dubs. Might want to go Dubs over Pickens. That's wild. That's crazy. AB, what are we saying about Kyren Williams? Yeah, I mean, Cam Akers is a weird case study right now. He was terrible last week, but he's also gotten off to slow starts in the past. I'm not ruling him dead for the season. I'm not declaring Cam Akers as a terrible pick, as a failure, as a draft pick, but Kyren Williams is probably going to remain involved throughout the course of the season. It was called out by Jordan Rodriguez of the Athletics. She covers the Rams. She called out in August that Kyren Williams looks like a different player. I didn't pay enough attention or enough mind to that report as I maybe should have, but Kyren Williams, by all accounts, not just after this past week, but just in general over the course of the offseason, looks like a different player this year. And so he's not going anywhere. If you can sell high, by all means, go for it. Whatever that is, a wide receiver 2, perhaps, who's a little bit more proven. Yeah, sure, absolutely. But right now, Kyren Williams looks like he's going to be solid running back depth, at the very least, a bench stash. I would say for at least the next 5 or 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks or so, at least the next month. I want to hang on to him and see what he can do, see what he does. I'm not going to put too much stock one way or another into tomorrow's performance just because the 49ers pose a different threat. That's a different beast, a different animal as far as a matchup. So not expecting the world from anybody tomorrow on the Rams. But I think I want to hang on to Kyren Williams for at least a little while. For at least a little while. Tyler Sperry, thank you so much for the super, man. Much appreciated. Very, very kind of you. Thank you so much. Picking 2 running backs here between Mixon, Kelly, Montgomery, and Javonte. Kelly, for me, feels like an odd man out here. Just because he's not normally the dude. He's just in a spot start. He's just in a good opportunity to get some volume. But it's a brutal matchup against Tennessee. The Titans are good at stopping the run. This dates back to last year. And they did it week 1 against Jamal Williams. They held him in check. So I think just because Kelly appears on the surface to be giving an opportunity, given your other names, your other options, I'm not as bullish on him. So I think I'm eliminating him. From this conversation. The guy you probably have to go with is Mixon, definitively. Volume, track record. Bounce back spot for the Bengals after a terrible week one. I imagine they get themselves back on track this week. So I would go Mixon. And then between David Montgomery and Javonte Williams, it's close. I'm inclined to go with Montgomery in a great matchup, better offensive line by far than what Denver has. Denver's offensive line is okay. Detroit's offensive line is great. There's a decent chance Detroit controls this game against the Seattle Seahawks at home. And there's nothing scary about that matchup as far as Seattle's front seven. Yes, I expect Jahmyr Gibbs to get more involved as the season goes along. And I expect him to continue to he'll catch passes. He will be, potentially the lead back in that offense before long. But for now, David Montgomery had a nice game week one. They paid him good money to be a big part of that backfield. I'll ride the vibes. I'll ride the good performance. I'll ride the wave. I'll take Mixon and I'll take Montgomery. I don't love having to sit Javonte Williams, but he is still working his way back from a major knee injury last year. He looked fine week one. He didn't look spectacular week one. Let's let him get his sea legs under him one more week before we potentially pivot back to him. Let's go Mixon. Take the volume. Bengals at home. Bounce back spot for them after a terrible week one. And I'll take David Montgomery. I'll ride the good performance from week one. I'll ride that momentum. I'll ride that wave. I'll take the good vibes around the Detroit Lions. Their offensive line is awesome. I'll take Mixon and Montgomery. Of those four guys. Appreciate the super. Very kind of you, man. Thank you so much. Let's see. And I do, yes, it is a better Green Bay's offense. At least it's only 1 week. So we have to be careful about, any conclusions that we're ultimately trying to sort through or figure out. But yeah, it does look like a better offense right now in Green Bay than in Pittsburgh, especially when you consider that Matt Canada is the Steelers offensive coordinator. All right. Kyren Williams or Justice Hill. Oi. If these are your best options, then I'll go Hill only because Kyren Williams has to play the San Francisco 49ers, and I don't like that matchup one bit. So I guess Hill. Puka or Terry McLaurin? I got to go Terry here. I got to go Terry. Terry's ceiling is capped because he's going to have to go up against Patrick Surtain. He is the proven player here between the two of them. There's a talent level tier break between Terry McLaurin and Puka Nacua. It's a brutal matchup for Terry having to go up against Patrick Surtain, but it's a tough matchup for Puka having to go up against the 49ers, and Puka was added to the injury report earlier this week. I don't feel great about either, but I will take Terry McLaurin over Puka, even though I don't feel spectacular about it, admittedly. What's going on, Iron? Good to see you, man. What freaking time is it where you are? It's gotta be early morning. When's that Vienna Vikings game, by the way? Or did it happen, right? They played Stuttgart, I think. I'm not 100% sure what the results were. Oh, I'm looking it up now. Did they not win? Oh, man. Vienna, what are we doing? Sorry, Iron. That's a little disappointing. Oh, and Tyler, okay, I just saw your question. Thank you again for the super, much appreciated. But yeah, Mixon and Montgomery over Javonte and Kelly. Would I put Kelly or Pittman in your flex instead of Waddle? No. You just play Waddle. Waddle, Mixon, David Montgomery. Hopefully that helps. This dynasty trade. Okay. This looks like a pretty good team. I need to go back up to it. You trade Adams, Cousins, Dotson. Yeah. Just feels like a lot. It feels like a lot to give up, Charlie. It feels like a steep price to pay. You already have A.J. Brown. You already have Pittman. You already have Devontae Adams. You already have Dotson. You have Addison. You're low on running backs, but there's no running back involved in that trade. I think I would hold on that. I don't think I would do anything. I don't think I would make that move. All right. Got AB's question about Kyron. There's big, yeah, lots of points scored in that game, Iron. I mean, I didn't get to see it, but looks like it was exciting. Looks like it was a good game. It's a good game. AB, I am still in LA, still chilling. I don't think I'm too far for you in general. But yep, still kicking it on the West Coast. Yes, sir. Oh, Tyler, you didn't have to do that again, but much appreciated, man. Why Waddle? Because he was probably your second round pick. And I'm not giving up on Jalen Waddle just because Tyreek Hill went nuclear 1 week. Waddle's a guy that for me, he's past the point of like start sit questions for me. Jalen Waddle is that dude that you just fire up each week. He was a wide receiver 1 in points per game last year. He was probably a top 20 pick for you in your redraft league. That is a guy that you fire up without question each week, regardless of whether he has a big performance or has a down performance. You go back to the well with Jalen Waddle after a down performance, 100%. Not worried about the 5 targets. It is a tougher matchup against New England for sure, but Waddle's going to get force-fed work. Better weeks are ahead for him. Better weeks are ahead for Jalen Waddle. We fire him up with confidence, not worried about him. You keep him in your flex and you keep it moving. You ride or die. Jalen Waddle is a guy you ride or die with. He's in your lineup. He's in your lineup for sure. See, this one's interesting. Amari Cooper or Zach Moss? I mean, there's a big, obvious talent level tier break here between Amari Cooper and Zach Moss. This would normally never be a question, but obviously with Amari Cooper aggravating a groin injury, that causes that serious cause for concern, especially playing on a Monday night when you're not going to have very many pivots to turn to if Cooper's ruled out. I would probably play Zach Moss. Jesus, holy crap, that's where we're at. But that's probably what I'm doing. I would fire up Zach Moss over Amari Cooper. That's where we're at. When you got a wide receiver who's a late add to an injury report, who plays on Monday night, where you're going to be severely limited as far as emergency backup options if Cooper can't go, it feels gross potentially pigeonholing yourself like that. I would fire up Moss. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is. Worried about Amari Cooper for this week. Long term, not worried. For this week, worried. In full PPR, Njoku, Kmet, or Hayden Hurst? Njoku. He should pick up more targets with Amari Cooper on the injury report. Njoku over Kmet, over Hurst. I'll roll the dice on Njoku for one more week. Should see some more targets. What's going on, Kyle Noe? Good to see you. Should you flex Algier or Javonte Williams? You also have Bourne, OBJ, Moss, Henry. Yeah, no, it's between Algier and Javonte Williams, and I'm inclined to say Javonte just because he's the traditional starter. Algier had a great game last week. 2 touchdowns, big production, got a lot of work. Green Bay is a more difficult opponent than Carolina is. Let's stick with Javonte. He is the 1A. He is the starter regularly. I would prefer the starting running back over a backup running back just in general. Blanket statement. It applies here. I'll take Javonte over Tyler Algier, and definitively I would rather fire up either one over Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is a major concern. He's a major red flag for this week. There's no question. Yep. Give me Javonte Williams, Kyle Noe. PPR, trade Chase for A.J. Brown and Mixon. That is a good offer, but I don't know that I could give up Jamar Chase after I have him. Unless, well, if you're getting Chase, man, it's like both on both sides. It's like on one hand, I feel like if I'm giving up A.J. Brown and Mixon, it feels like I'm giving up a lot of depth. But if I feel like I'm giving up Chase, I feel like I'm giving up like the best player in the deal. I guess I would rather have Chase. Between those two in full PPR, I guess I would rather have Chase. Looks pretty fair. Looks like really strong value for Jamar Chase. I just don't think that I could give up Jamar Chase. But if you're getting Jamar Chase, then okay, fine. As long as you're okay at running back. As long as you're okay at running back. Just FYI for y'all, I got about 10 more minutes in me. I do have a hard stop of 8:30 Eastern time. There's some festivities for this evening that I have to make sure that I get to. So if I don't get to your question, rest assured, I will be here 11 a.m. Eastern tomorrow on Sunday before the main slate. You can ask your question then, whether you were able to get an answer from me tonight, or if you weren't able to get one from me tonight and you want to revisit it, 11 a.m. Eastern, I will be available. You can also hit the Discord, second link in the description of this live stream and all the videos on my channel. It is an evergreen invite. You can bounce some ideas over there as well off of the community that we have over there. But just FYI, 10 more minutes, and then I do have to call this. We may get to the end of the chat before then, but in case that we don't, just want to let everybody know I will be logging off or signing off at 8:30, but I will be available 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow for any last minute questions. Let's see. Where are we at? I'm sorry, AB. I didn't see this. Half PPR. Should you flex Mostert, Gibson, or Sutton? I would go Mostert. Give me the starting running back in a really good offense. Tougher matchup, but should come through with at least a little bit of volume. And you feel good about Miami's offense right now. You feel good about them moving the ball. You feel good about them being able to score points. Tyreek Hill is a matchup nightmare. That sets up other guys. I would play Mostert over Gibson for sure after last week, and over Sutton for sure with Jerry Jeudy back. I would play Mostert. I would play Mostert. And as far as Elijah Moore, yeah, he's a big time upside play for me this week. I imagine he should see 10 targets. He should see 10 targets, maybe 11 or 12 with Amari Cooper hobbled, with him hurting. I absolutely think Elijah Moore is a strong upside play this week. Depends on your options, of course. But hell yeah, Elijah Moore should be a really strong play this week. I think he had 7 targets last week. Bad weather. Caught 3 for 40-ish, 40 to 45 yards. Not great, but 7 targets is good, and it was bad weather. I don't think we're going to have that problem again for this game. And if there's no Amari Cooper, 10 plus targets for Elijah Moore. Wheels up. Wheels up. Ayuk or Mike Williams? Ayuk. I'm starting Ayuk over everybody other than obvious names. Ayuk is a bona fide, clear-cut start for me every week moving forward. And yeah, over guys like Mike Williams for sure. Start DJ Moore or Rashid Shaheed. This is where we're at, aren't we? DJ Moore. I mean, Shaheed has upside. Shaheed is probably a ceiling play, but I gotta go back one more time. I don't like the matchup. It's not a good matchup, but I gotta account for DJ Moore just being a more proven player. He's done it before in worse circumstances. It doesn't feel ideal. But we drafted DJ Moore to be a wide receiver too. We drafted Rashid Shaheed to be a strong depth play. I got to go back to the well with DJ Moore for one more week. I don't feel great about it, but I'm going to give him the slight edge over somebody like Rashid Shaheed. And AB, for me, Elijah Moore over Marquise Brown. I would definitely play Elijah Moore over Marquise Brown. I like Marquise Brown, but his situation is crap for the foreseeable future until further notice with the quarterback situation. And Elijah Moore should see, I imagine, 10 to 12 targets with Amari Cooper on the injury report. Give me Elijah Moore over Hollywood Brown for sure. But I would go DJ Moore over Shaheed, and you have to start Breece over Roschon Johnson. I mean, I know the matchup stinks, but we got to fire up Breece. You got to fire up Breece, and you got to hope for the best. Breece Hall for sure. Daniel, sorry you missed the thoughts here. I would take Eckler and you're giving up ETN Henry and you're getting Eckler, Josh Kelly, and Waddle. The answer is yes. Do that trade. Do that trade. You're getting Eckler. You're not going to be able to use him this week, but you'll have him for the rest of the season. It's not a long-term concern. And Waddle is a top 10 to 12 wide receiver. I know he didn't do it last week, but for the season, Waddle still needs to be considered a low-end wide receiver 1, highest of the high-end wide receiver 2 options for the year. ETN looks great. Derrick Henry just doing his thing yet again. Derrick Henry, 100 yards and a touchdown. It's what he does. I'll take Eckler and I'll take Waddle as a package for those two guys for sure. Especially if you need a wide receiver. Absolutely do that trade. I would. Rojo, you got Chase, or you traded Higgins, Cook, and your first for Chase. Yeah, I mean, in Dynasty, that looks like a steep price to pay, but it's Jamar freaking Chase. You're talking about like the number 1 overall, the number 1 overall asset in Dynasty. I mean, I guess you could still argue Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is a freaking is a machine, is a monster, but Jamar Chase has the quarterback stability for the future with Joe Burrow. It's a good price to pay, but I mean, it's worth it. Jamar Chase is that dude. He's going to have a big day tomorrow, by the way. Jamar Chase is going to have a big day tomorrow. No Marlon Humphrey for the Ravens. Get right game, bounce back spot for the Bengals. I'm not predicting that they win the game, but Jamar Chase is going to have a nice day for sure. Last few questions for the evening, and then I am going to shut this down. Thank you, everybody, for coming in, hanging out today, asking questions. I appreciate y'all's patience as I move through these questions. Appreciate everybody coming in, hanging out. Certainly my members, my OGs, my day ones. Appreciate you guys coming in, hanging out, talking shop, helping some other people in some instances. And, of course, everybody in general for coming in. The supers as well from, I think it was Sheldon and Tyler. Very kind of you guys. Much appreciated. The channel support means a lot. Means a lot. Certainly feels like this is absolutely worth doing, and happy to help you guys out as these questions come up. All right, last couple to bring it home. 12-man PPR, Hopkins, Khalil Herbert, Nico Collins, or Jerry Jeudy. I think you have to go Hopkins if he's active. But honestly, I'm okay pivoting to Nico, who had a really strong game last week. I think he's going to emerge as the number one wide receiver, at least for this season for Houston. He should have plenty of opportunities tomorrow against Indianapolis. There's no big threat in the Colts secondary that makes you worry. What does make you worry is Houston's health on offense. Stroud has a shoulder injury. The offensive line is really banged up, so that could make it difficult. But if you're worried about Hopkins because of the injury, Nico's a fine pivot. If you're not worried about the Hopkins injury, maybe just go with the proven player, especially in a good matchup. There should be points scored for the Titans at home against the Chargers. But Nico does feel a little safer at this point. Not playing Jeudy when he's on a pitch count, and I don't want to play Khalil Herbert in a bad matchup. Did I say Carolina, Kaunoe? My bad. Yeah, Javonte plays Washington. Not a great matchup, but at home, yet another week removed from the injury. I'll play Javonte. I'm fine with Javonte over excuse me. It was Amari or Algier. Yeah. I would rather play Javonte Williams over Tyler Algier. I would. I'll take Javonte Williams. I'll take the potential volume bump, a slight volume bump that he might get this week, which could continue to go up as the season progresses. That does it for me. We are at the end of the chat. Again, appreciate you guys. Appreciate everybody coming in, asking questions, hanging out. This is always fun. And again, the supers are much appreciated by Sheldon and Tyler. Thank you as always to my members. If you are interested in memberships, again, first link in the description of this live stream and all of the videos on my channel. I will be live tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern. If you need any more reassurance on anything, or if you have any other questions that come up, be sure to tune in then. Otherwise, have a great Saturday night. Enjoy the rest of this evening. I will see you